Welcome back to another episode of The Depths of the Melody. I had the honor of sitting down with Eyal from the band DAATH, and it was awesome. I cannot wait to hear what you think about this interview, this conversation that we had. I believe it's very enriching, and you are going to get a lot from this. Not just excitement for their new album, but man, just overall, this this was incredible. And on top of that, DAATH has agreed to give away a copy of their latest album, The Deceivers. So sit back, grab your snacks, and enjoy. Hey y'all, welcome to the Wolf and the Melody, man. Thank you so much, dude, for taking time out of your day. I know life has been busy. You guys are coming back with a vengeance with DAATH's latest album, The Deceivers. And I'm excited to sit down and talk with you today, man. How's everything going?
Well, first off, thanks for having me. A pleasure to talk to you. And yeah, coming back after quite a long break. Things are going great, man. Happy to be here. It's pretty miraculous to be doing this again. It's kind of wild. So I'm good.
That's awesome, dude. I have to say, man, this album, I messaged you about a week ago and I
Hmm.
said, dude, it's really rare when an album can come together for like a listener and you can put it in and listen to it first song to the last song. And there's no skips, man. For me, this was a perfect album. Every song, everything about it was just awesome. And like, I cannot wait for you guys to get your feedback from everybody else that's going to listen to this, man. And just, I'm dead serious. This was a perfect fucking album, man. And for you to come back after I think 13 years, like
Yeah.
you are coming back with a vengeance. And I just want to say well done. Well done with
Thank
this
you.
this
Thank
album,
you.
man. It's really good. Um,
I appreciate that.
the one thing I wanted to say, man, I can't get over just you guys captured with this record such incredible and emotional melodies with your solos and your leads. A lot of times solos can be overdone. Like anybody can put a shredding lead in or a shredding solo, but there was like in every song there was a lot of heart that was attached to these melodies, man, that like they would start to play and I'd be like it just felt more than just hey, look, I'm shredding, I'm ripping up the guitar. There was a lot of heart in this record and you can feel that. At least I could. And just for
Yeah.
you
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I just want to say for you to combine these ferocious riffs with these beautiful melodies, man, like again, I'm excited for people to hear it.
Thank you. Thanks. So, the whole technical side of it is not the priority for us at all. It never has been. Um, it might be for some bands, it's not for us. Uh, the it just happens to come out challenging to play. But that's a byproduct. It always has to feel like something has to feel honest. Like you have to feel something when you're writing it. Um, and if it doesn't, it's just what are we doing? Right? Like, because the technical side of it is not, I've never felt like technicality should be should be a like a drawing point or like a reason to listen to a band. It's just kind of like a feature. Like they happen to be sick players, but I mean, so what? So like that doesn't that I mean, it's awesome to be a sick player. I have all the respect in the world for virtuosos. Like I know how hard it is to get that good. I know what kind of dedication they have, but that doesn't mean the music they're playing is good. And there's a big difference between the two. Um, but I think in my lineage, I come from a classical background. So does Raphael, our lead guitar player.
Mhm.
And in classical music, that's very emotional music. It's and lots of beauty in it. Um, and also some of the stuff is very high speed, or you'll have very high speed stuff happening behind soaring melodies. So that's my classical brain. So there's a feel that stuff at a certain speed will give you, if it's presented properly in the right framework. But it's not about the technique, it's about that feeling, I guess, if that makes sense.
You said something about like, okay, you're really good, but like, are you playing good music? Like, that's true. And you know what I mean? And I could feel a lot of that emotion with this new album. Like that's kind of a thing on the channel because with like some of the reactions, people know that like solos are cool, leads are cool, those technical riffs are really cool, but sometimes, especially with solos, they can be overdone. There's no heart behind it. There's no emotion. It's just really fast and really crazy looking. You know what I mean? But sometimes you don't feel anything, at least for me. And sometimes when I hear a song and I'll go, man, this is more than just a string of notes being put together. I could feel that heart behind it. And that's what I could feel a lot with this new album.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, because there is a lot of heart behind it. And it again, like, the if it doesn't make you feel anything, it's not music as far as I'm concerned. And guitar solos generally bore me, and technical bands bore me overall. It's yeah, but also I just want to say, that whole like cliche, oh, I can get more feeling out with one note than those dudes that play, 100 miles an hour or whatever, like that old guy boomer talk. I don't agree with that either. I think they just say that shit because they're jealous of dudes who are much better players. So I want to be careful to not sound like one of them, because I don't feel like that at all. Like every time I've heard someone say that, they tend to be a really bad player who's just feeling insecure next to a superior player. So that's not at all this. Like, I have all the respect in the world for these like Olympic athlete level musicians. It's just it's a different thing than the music you're writing, right? It's two completely different things. One is physically playing an instrument, and you can dedicate your whole life to that, which is great. I mean, if that's what pulls you in, if that's what you're drawn to do, awesome. I mean, I love playing with people like that too. They're necessary. But uh, when it comes to the music you're actually playing, it's just a different thing completely. Um, if you marry the two, I guess that's wonderful. But the technique, in my opinion, is there to serve. It's like a vehicle for what you're writing to come through properly.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like that tool that is an addition to your heart that is trying to create.
Yeah. However, I think, and this is more just like a thing of youth, that where they get the equation backwards, where the writing is a vehicle for the technique. Um, and I mean, look, there's some bands who they come up with some really creative stuff where the writing is a vehicle for the technique, but it's so clever. It's so clever, and it's like I can't knock them. Like, it's not like the same kind of emotion as like what we do. It's not the same kind of feeling. It's not like this like deep or like kind of, I don't know, existential thing. But but maybe they're not those kinds of people. You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
maybe they don't have those mental problems. Like, maybe they're well adjusted. Maybe they love math. Who knows? Like, but it's still probably their honest expression, because I know some of these people in some of these bands, and they are just as like weird as the rest of us, but they're not like, they don't go to that same dark place, but they're brilliant, and and the way that they use their techniques is what it's all about. And like, but they come up with stuff that's so clever that in and of itself is cool, but it's a different kind of expression.
Yeah, yeah, and I guess too, like with technique, it can all be subjective, because somebody could be a master of their craft or crafting this style of technique because that is where their heart is leading them
Yep.
to where your path is leading you this way, which is
Yes.
yeah, it really does come down, I guess, to a subjectiveness on that. But I did want to say this before we get started. This is a wild moment because almost 20 years ago, I'm learning guitar and I'm looking up YouTube riffs and just bands to try to learn songs. And that is how I discovered you guys. And so for me to sit down, I went back and watched that video and I could see younger me, dude, sitting at the kitchen table with the laptop trying to learn your music.
That's
And
awesome.
now here I am, dude. I'm 37 years old and I'm talking to you. It's such a you don't see this stuff happening. Like you just don't see it just is blowing my mind. So for the viewer, like this is a wild moment to be able to sit down and talk with you. It's just like a walk down memory lane, man. Like I did want to say, what's the story or the what does DAATH mean?
I
How'd you
mean,
come up with
so
that name?
it just means abyss, but like it's not a very deep thing.
Okay.
Um, like I'm I have a personal philosophy that uh music is deeper than words. And the reason I think that is, I mean, it's called the universal language for a reason, and it's because, and you can see evidence of this when you go play somewhere where they don't understand anything you're saying, and they love it
Yeah.
just as much. And for instance, two of my favorite Opeth songs or favorite Dimmu Borgir songs with Dimmu, it's the songs they put out in Norwegian, and then Opeth put out a Swedish language version of some of their stuff. That's my favorite, and it's because I don't understand what they're saying. Um, because I feel like words. It's not that they cheapen it, but they cheapen it to a degree. I mean, lyrics are cool. Obviously, we have lyrics. They're cool. They mean something. Um, but the big picture for me is music. Even with those lyrics, um, for me, it's never a literal thing. Like what they're about is what this is. It's like the feeling it creates, or like the the reason it connects. It's a deeper thing, and so like I have never put too much stock in like the meaning of a name and things like that because it's it I feel like it cheapens it cheapens what you're doing because there's no way to really explain it. You have to have a band name. So because how else is anyone going to know that you're a band? Like how are you going to put yourself out there?
Yeah.
So I wanted a band name that it did have like a cool meaning, but also looked cool on a shirt, looked cool across a room, easy to remember, easy to make a logo for. Lots of practical reasons.
That's really cool, man. That's your approach on like the band name. Like it sounds cool, it looks cool, it's good for how it would look on a CD or a poster or a vinyl or a shirt. That's awesome, man. My brain doesn't go there. I don't think that way. So it's really cool that it's like you're like, oh man, it's just really good simplicity. So that's really cool. What's the
I mean, I
how
could make something up and try to sound deep, but like that's just what it is.
yeah, that's awesome. What is how did Dothall come about? Like what's the history of the band?
I was going to Berkeley for college and hating it, hating it. I wanted to leave, and I like I was hating not being able to work on things that I knew would be important for my future, like metal and production, metal production. And I hit up a dude in Atlanta I knew and just said, "Do you want to start an electronic uh, themed death metal band with me when I come home?" And he said, "Yeah." And then I came home, and that was that. That was I ended up leaving Berkeley early in order to come back to Atlanta to start the band and start my studio, which you know I can see how in most cases if you a kid told their parent that I'm leaving college to start a metal band, um, it's a bad idea. It's a really bad idea. But that's what it was I always knew the direction I was going in, and when I was at Berkeley, I felt like I was really going in the wrong. It was like taking me in the wrong direction, and I had to get out of there. And so yeah, just started the band and started the studio, and we originally started as a two-man project called Dirt Nap that was like mixing electronic music with death metal. And eventually we had to change the name. That's when we got to DAATH. And like I always wanted this to get signed and turn into a real band. Um, and so I mean that is the story. I came back and we started a band and we tried to do something unique that was honest, and one thing led to another, and here we are, basically.
One thing that you were talking about, and I think this applies to like anybody who's going to watch this. Intuition is powerful,
Hmm.
and intuition doesn't always make sense. And one thing I've learned too, my intuition doesn't need to make sense to everybody. For you to be going to school and you just have this feeling in your soul being like, dude, this is not the way to go. This is not the way to go. And it's that nagging kind of like, don't do this. Like, that's powerful because I think a lot of people that might be having a hard time with finding purpose in life or finding, just a way to go, they ignore that intuition a lot because a lot of times I have these feelings the same as you where it's like, Tommy, like, do it this way, go about it this way. And people will say, that doesn't make sense. It
To
doesn't need to
them,
make sense to
yeah.
them.
When I was leaving Berkeley, the my cohort, a lot of them were going to LA event after graduation or pre-graduation. Like lots of people don't graduate there. That's a thing. It's this running joke that if you if you graduate Berkeley College of Music, you're gonna fail at music. It's not so true anymore, but in those days, it was this running joke that only the dropouts made it in music. But so I was going to Atlanta, and my cohort, I remember, and I'm still friends with some of them to this day, but they were making fun of me. They're like, "Why aren't you going to LA? Like, aren't you serious?" Like, yeah, that's why I'm not going to LA. Um, Out of those people, take a guess how many ended up in the music industry out of the LA crew?
Very slim, if
Two,
any, too.
two, and one's dead. So like so
Jesus.
two,
Yeah.
and not 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 to go dark, but like um two, and and I think that it's because they were doing what they thought they were supposed to do, not because of what they actually knew to be right. It seemed to me like, why would I go to LA? I don't have anything going on. Uh, so I'm just going to show up with a bunch of other people who don't have anything going on and just be like lost in a sea of people who don't have anything going on. Why don't I go somewhere where I can have something going on and get started, and then I'll go to LA when it makes sense, if it ever makes sense. And I've never moved to LA, but I go there several times a year. Like, and that's fine. But the thing is, I've always been able to see like the path forward for the things that have worked. It's always like a very clear, logical like path. Like you take these steps, you're going to get to this place. So to me, it's not a big risk. Like for instance, when I decided to quit producing bands in 2014 and start URM, which was a great decision. Um, the people were like, "Are you out of your mind?" Because I was making a lot of money producing bands and had a career with it, and it's like, no, I'm not out of my mind. I'm starting a company. Uh, it's gonna be weird. It's gonna be tough for a little bit, but uh, I'm not gonna be able to make this company successful if I don't quit producing. So it might be scary for you, but I see exactly how it's gonna work, and it's always been very, very clear to me. So I guess if people don't have that, it might be tougher to listen to their gut or their intuition. But it's always for like I de-risk things by by breaking it down to very uh realistic steps, logical steps,
Mm.
basically.
Dude, I think this is like really good for people because I know people struggle with this, and I think we want, like, going to LA. You go to LA and you think, wow, this is where it all happens. But we can miss out on the power of simplicity and the the small beginning. Like going to LA where there's everybody who's trying to do what you're doing, or like going over here like in the beginning kind of by yourself and starting this humble beginning, if that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, and then you when you go to LA, you go when you have a name. When you have a
Mhm.
name and people care about you to some degree. And that's how you can LA is the land of opportunity in music. If you're able to have doors open for you. Um, if there are no doors open for you, it is a tough place. Yeah, I know a few people who've gone there and succeeded, but by and large, almost everyone has gone there and like been out of there within a year because it's so tough. And it's because LA designed for is not designed for uh, people at the very beginning. It's designed for people who have momentum already. If you have momentum and you go there, it's a different story. Like you can like clean house, but going there to start is just I mean, some people will make it happen, but they are the by and large the exception.
Yeah. And I think it's like kind of like that a lot of people struggle with impatience. They kind of want that microwave, I have this dream, I'm going to go to LA, and it's like maybe don't go to LA right now.
Hmm.
Go here, get things rolling. How has the hiatus, those years, how did that affect you? Like, what was that like? Did you think that after your previous last album that you're like, this is it? Or was there still that spark inside of you being like, I know we're not done. I know it's not done.
Both. Um, both, which is probably why it's a different lineup now. Um, so
Mm.
I didn't want it to be over. It wasn't my decision to go on hiatus, which is weird to say because it's my band and I'm the band leader. So ultimately, it is my decision. But the thing is that it wasn't my idea, and in those days, I felt like I couldn't do it with anyone else. So that like it, the idea of getting other people back then was just not going to happen. Like, and also, uh, now I think, well, why didn't I just do that? But I have to remember that my situation in life was very different back then. I didn't have like a quarter of the network that I have now, um, or the standing in it that I have now. I didn't have the resources that I have now. And also, and this is a big deal, The bar for musicianship wasn't as high then as it is now. So there weren't just amazing players everywhere like there are now. Um, I'm not going to say dime a dozen or anything, but the previous lineup of this band were like some of the best players in the world. Like to this day are some of the best players in this world. Like they are unbelievable. So replacing them is a tall order, uh, especially when there's fans who have been waiting all this time for what they knew the band to be. But back then, it was really really tough to consider replacing things. Like with who? Like with who? There is nobody. Um, like or they're in some huge band or something. Like there is nobody. Like what? Oh, I'm gonna just get some like people that are like not as good and then cheapen this thing we did. I'm like, no, I'd rather not do it than have it suck. So, but I was not, yeah. But I was not happy about it. I tried to restart it a few times over the years, didn't work. Um, and I moved on. Like I still did a lot of things that are cool, like really cool. Like so I've had multiple careers. Um I don't know. Do you know about like the other stuff I've done?
No.
Okay, so I'm not gonna like go off on it for too long, but I've had multiple careers and they've all been fulfilling in different ways. So produced bands for a long time, and right after the band went on hiatus, I moved to Florida to work with Jason Sukoff at Audio Hammer Studios, and I worked under him for a few years and helped him with tons of bands like August Burns Red and Black Dahlia Murder and just like almost any band he was working on, I like assisted him. And I did some of my own bands like the Contortionist and uh like that was my life for a while. I had already been producing for like 10 years and I realized that that wasn't for me and I started URM Academy. We're best known for a product called Nail the Mix, which now we're almost 10 years old, but um, that's like an online school for metal producers. And we're like the biggest in the world for it. Uh, and we teach people how to mix metal, taught by the best producers in the game with the best bands. So, like, if it says like learn how to mix Lamb of God with Machine, it's Machine showing you how he mixed Redneck by Lamb of Gods, and the students can download the tracks that we licensed from the label and actually practice with the tracks. And like, I mean, every month someone else, but it's like everything from like Arcspire to Meshuggah to Nickelback to Opeth to like Lamb of God to whoever. Like
It's
it's been
insane.
incredible. It's yeah, it's been insane. And we started Riff Hard too, which is like the guitar version of that. So like and I URM has been really successful and has our students now are like all over the production industry and like we've had several success stories like and so it's been awesome to make that kind of impact and to help raise the bar for production. And that has kept me very very current and still in the game, so like I didn't really leave metal ever. And so the hiatus, while I was pissed about the band, I was still like continuing to try to do awesome things. um However, the whole time, like I thought about it like every single day and never got over it, no matter how successful URM got. And then I had fans hitting me up literally every day about it. So like they didn't let it die. If they maybe had stopped, maybe I would have been like, okay, nobody cares. I should just drop it. Like if it's there's no one cares anyways. Like it didn't go anywhere. Like no one cares, just move on. But people do care and did care. And so eventually it just came to a point where I decided I'm going to restart it. And this time, unlike the other times, I'm doing it and I'm doing it regardless of who does it with me. Uh, I'm if people don't want to do it with me, I will find other people and I will make a better version of this band. And if anyone doubts it, they'll stop doubting it the moment they hear it. But I'm doing it.
Damn.
And that was 2021, September. So and here we are talking. So yeah, that's
Dude,
how it
it's
went.
it's it's truly inspiring, man, because to anybody listening, like it's really easy to just like to see what's going on in the limelight, but to really know what is going on behind the scenes. And it was really cool that you said like even though we weren't doing the band, I never left metal. And it's almost like this little what's that term called where like the road kind of goes off roading for a little bit, like you kind of veered off road for a little bit, you were picking up, you were producing, and you have this knowledge on producing and working with artists and everything, but I'm sure you were picking up little nuggets to add to that arsenal that you already had, to
Thousand
where
percent.
yeah. And so now that you've gotten back on, now it's like this is a this is a totally new experience, but still feels familiar. And like I said, this record that is coming out, man, I'm not saying this to blow smoke up your ass, make your head big. I am serious. Like from my perspective, just what I heard out of these 9 songs, it's been a long time that I can put a record in and be like, dude, this is a start to finish perfect album. Like that's rare and doesn't I can't
Thank you.
name a lot of bands or a lot of albums where I can go, every song I really freaking like, And but I think you're inspirational, man. And I think you people can feel like they're stuck or they're done. Like, how are they going to move on? How are they going to adapt? How do we pursue a dream? How do we chase our passions? How do we make things happen? And I kind of like what you were talking about, how you think of the steps that you need to take in a very realistic way. It is brutal to try to think of steps you need to take if it's so like unrealistic. But those
Yeah.
little those little steps help you get close, like losing weight or something. Like I want to lose 200 pounds in 2 months. Okay, dude, let's turn that
So,
back a little
so
bit.
who's cutting that off your body?
Yeah, dude. Yeah, how do we turn that down a little bit and let's think of realistic steps. And I think with how the story you're sharing is just very inspirational. You can do something even if it doesn't quite look like maybe it's done. Nothing's ever
Yeah,
really
totally.
done. I thought
Unless
that
you
was really
say it
cool.
is.
Yeah, it's powerful, man.
Yeah, it like the thing is, you also have to know when something is done. So I've had other ventures that have failed where I knew that the best decision was to drop it completely. We had a beard oil company. Um, we had a great product, great marketing. Nobody cared. The end. Like, and had to put that to bed. And I've had musical projects here and there that just didn't work. And I wanted them to work. It's not like we sat down to write something that was going to fail, but it didn't work. And you got to know when to cash it in. Like but you also have to know when not to. And I think that being able to decide wisely about those things is really, really, really important. Like you got to know when to quit, when you're just feeling down about something, uh, or when to keep going. Um, those things matter a lot, but like as far as like the realistic steps, the reason that I say that is because people always talk about unrealistic goals and make things realistic, and what they usually mean is settle for less. Uh, but what I mean is like, look, you're trying to do something that exists in this world that people have done. Therefore, there is a way that is within the laws of how this world works. Uh, it is possible. There are plenty of people who have done it. Now, there are some things that might be impossible. Like if you don't have the talent to do, like if you want to be in a band, but you aren't willing to practice enough to be good enough, or you don't have the talent for it, or whatever, like that's something like there are some things that you are not going to be able to do anything about. Like you cannot, like talent is not something you can develop talent that's already there. You can grow your skills, but if you don't have enough talent, like it, it's going to be real tough. But you don't have to have like genius level talent either, because skill, you can put a lot of work into your skills and have a good personality and go a long way. But like say you have enough talent and you do have the right work ethic, uh you can make it realistic if you do the right things. The thing though that like also people have to realize is there is an element that's completely outside of your control, which is if other people like what you do. And this is hard for people, but it's hard for people to accept this because they'll see bands or artists just get huge seemingly out of nowhere, and it's never out of nowhere. And they'll say things like good artists go undiscovered, but this industry plant got huge. Uh, that's a fundamental misunderstanding of how these things work. No amount of money can buy a fan. It can buy advertising, it can buy studio time, it can buy it can buy production, it can buy vehicles, it can buy a crew, it can buy really cool clothes, instruments, it can buy a lot of stuff, radio campaigns. There's all these things it can buy, but what it can't buy is the fans' opinions. And we've all seen movies with the biggest budgets ever just fail. We've seen
Hmm.
major label bands fail. Like most of them fail. Most artists fail that get put out by labels. So it's the money. No amount of money is what's making Billie Eilish get huge or something, or for Suicide Silence to popped off when they popped off, or Sleep Token now or whatever. Like it, this is any one of those is 100% because the audience decided decided. And like if the audience, if people don't like what you're doing, no amount of hard work is going to change that. You're going to have to get better, or or else. Um, that part is tough for people. So I think that's why it's important. So what I was saying before about you, when you got to know when to cash it in, when not. Um, you might want to look for some evidence to see if people like what you do
Hmm.
before going all in on something.
Yeah, and I think with the advent of social media, dude, oh my gosh, I think that's why we see almost like this catapult of artists and certain bands really, it seems like they go from like 0 to 60, TikTok and everything. They can put out like a catchy melody or a part of their song, and next thing you know, everybody hears it on TikTok. It goes viral, a million people hear it. So I think that's because I've noticed artists that are like really, really new and they blow up like within a year or something,
Mhm.
and but it could be luck, but all the while, like what you said, you have to be working on your skills. You you're in the dark where no one is, and you're hammering away at perfecting your craft and being ready for when those opportunities come.
Yeah, for sure. Well, look, the luck in what you just described about artists blowing up quickly, the luck is that they happened to put out a song at the exact point in time where the uh the masses were ready for it and resonated with
Mm.
it. You can buy clicks on social media, but you cannot buy shares. And shares are the highest rated uh part of going viral. Um you can't pay for that. like, yeah, you can, and every you can pay for fake likes,
Yeah, and views and
but
stuff.
yeah, but that's not that doesn't make you go viral. Like it's not the same. You cannot buy that. Because going viral requires people actually sharing it. Um, and if no one can make anybody do that, they have to want to do that.
That's a really interesting point. You with this you wrote this album has 9 songs, but I know you wrote more than that. How did you go about choosing these 9 and kind of not using the other songs that you wrote?
Um, Easy. We didn't finish the other ones
Oh,
because they
okay.
weren't good enough.
Got it.
So we started like 40, but we are ruthless about this. Um, we're not gonna if something's not feeling right, we will kill it. And we won't pursue the ones that aren't already like the best of the pile. Um so we only finished the ones that were the best. So there were no like completed songs that didn't make it. If we finished a song, it's because we felt like it should make it, basically. That so yeah, it's easy.
Out of all the songs, for you personally, what's one song that you really can't wait for people to hear out of the
Uh
album?
it- it's different on different days. That's the thing.
Well, today.
And Into Forgotten Dirt, the last song. That might be my favorite, but then again, they all kind of are. And you got to be strategic with what people hear first. Like, um, like I feel like any of these songs could stand up on its own, but like I think like Into Forgotten Dirt serves a purpose as being the last song of the record. It's like an exclamation point on the end of a strongly worded sentence. But as far as like putting out a single goes, which might be people's first introduction to the band, like I think that Hex Unending or Ascension or No Rest No End may be better suited for that purpose. So what I would want someone to hear for the first time might not be my personal favorite. But yeah, I think Into Forgotten Dirt is probably the one.
Yeah, that's a great song, man. Like I
Thanks.
said, it's a really cool song. Yeah, I was wondering about that because I know you love all the songs you wrote, but I always wondered, like, I know that if I was writing music, I'd probably be like, oh, there's that one part. I really want to see what people have to say about it and kind of what's it going to be like for them. You guys, this really is, I don't want to say a phoenix from the ashes kind of thing because it wasn't really dead, but it was dormant, would you say, I guess.
Well, I mean, I thought it was dead.
Okay, well then, so then the analogy, this is kind of like a phoenix rebirth from the ashes, and you guys, you have kicked up with this new album up to like a whole other level, adding in pieces of orchestra and just intense elements. What was that fun? Like adding in like the orchestra pieces and the just the huge sound that you have captured in this album.
Um, yes, it was fun for sure. Um, so the orchestra and the synth and all the extras, not really extras because they're like, it's not, sometimes you hear metal bands where you have like the band and it sounds like they just glued an orchestra on top of it. This is written in a way to where it's all like in the DNA of the song. So it's not like extra, but let's just say extras to a typical metal arrangement. We've always kind of done that stuff. Like there's some orchestra on the Hinderers. We synth on every single album. Some of our albums are way more synth heavy. And so we've always kind of had uh, other non-traditional elements in there. uh I wanted this one to be everything that's like always been a part of what we do, but just times 1,000, and kind of like at the pinnacle of what I've always wanted for the band because also didn't know if we're going to get another chance to do this. So it was like, get it all out, get it all out this time. This time's a gift. We might never do this again. So go for broke with it. Just say, leave nothing, uh, leave nothing behind kind of mentality. Um, so the orchestrator in the band, his name's Jesse Zaretti, and he's a really, really awesome uh, musician, composer. And it was really, really fun hearing, yeah, whenever he'd come back with something, uh, yeah, it's really killer hearing it that way. Um, but the thing is that's really, really important is that the music is written from the ground up to contain those elements. And I think that's part of why it works and why it doesn't just sound like a disconnected thing. Um, so it's all meant to work together. So it's not like getting a fresh coat of paint or something like that.
Hmm.
It's the vision from the ground up includes these things.
Well, yeah, the mix is really really good. Like nothing doesn't seem like, oh, that was just thrown on. The mix and how it was produced was really good. Like everything is just married really well together. The way all the songs are written, the flow of the songs, the the verses into the choruses, everything, the bridges, dude, and just
Thank you.
really good stuff, dude. How was it? I did want to say, how was it getting new members to start this? Like, how did you come about getting everybody?
Join my band if you ever want to see your family again. And then they did, you know. Um, so with well, okay, so like I said before, the idea was doing this regardless of who's in it. Um, and Sean, our vocalist, was the first person I called to see if he wanted to do it. And he said, of course. I've been waiting for the call for like 13 years. And I said, look, we might have to do this with different people. Are you still down? And he said, down no matter what. It's like, okay, cool. Uh, then let's do it. And once we realized we have to get new people, um, Krim was the first person that we spoke to. And it was it was as simple as saying, "Will you write some songs with us?" Uh, one, two, three, and just not as a session thing, um, with no strings attached either, but write as if you're a band member. We want like that level of involvement, like not just we give you some programmed drums and you just mimic them. Like bring to the table what you would bring to the table if we were in a band together.
Hmm.
And then we'll see what happens. Like we'll not worry about the future. Just do this. And then also we didn't have a lead guitar player, right? So uh I decided that maybe the approach would be to get a bunch of guest guitar players, like really, really sick guests, because we have to have great solos. Um, and maybe if things worked out, one of them would become our guitar player. But we're not just going to get some lead guitar player and audition a bunch of people and then just take the best of that pile. Like we want someone that we really want. Um, and Raphael is actually who I wanted in the band. So Krim showed him to me. And once I saw him playing on Instagram, it's like that's what we should have. So we asked him to do a guest solo, and then he did that. He did end up joining the band, and it was all very organic, man. It was all very organic, and we just took it slow with everybody. Took it slow, made sure that they were the right fit. Like did a small limited engagement with them, uh, just to see, and yeah, it was it wasn't as bad as it might seem. I think probably also because uh, my network is so much bigger now than it used to be.
Mhm.
I just know a lot of people. Between all of us, we just know a lot of people, so it's not that tough for us, I guess. Then that's why when I was talking to Sean, like, and I said, like, look, even if it doesn't work out with the previous lineup, I have all the confidence in the world that we'll be able to assemble something better. Like, not worried about it at all. It'll just take a little time, but we can definitely do it.
You have that about you, man. You have this like calm and cool collectiveness, and it maybe you don't let people see the turmoil too much in your heart. You kind of can keep that under wraps, but I can get that from you, this driven, focused personality. And I think for people that might, I feel like that could be a comfort to people. They know, hey, I need your thoughts. How do we go about doing this? Just with how your perspective is on things. I feel, and I feel like you have so much wisdom. So, like, just talking with you about things, I feel like this dude knows what he's talking about. You know what I mean? And
I
you give him,
oh well, thank
yeah,
you. I appreciate that. I mean, I'm sure sometimes they think I'm too intense, but yeah, it's
yeah,
okay.
yeah. I've been told I'm intense. So, dude, well, the one thing I wanted to, before we end this, you know, yes, you had to take a break and then you were doing some other things. What, but inside, what was that like for you, like on your mental health, like those
Not good.
years? Could, how did you, if you don't mind sharing, what was it like kind of working through that and getting out of it, like coming out, seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, trying to find the light at the end of the tunnel kind of thing?
Um, so like it was a decision to get better, basically. It it so I was experiencing a lot of success, but my thoughts are that the reason it got so dark was because I was not doing anything. Um, like I wasn't doing what I was meant to be doing, even though like I still do see my what I've done with URM and Riff Hard as a piece of what I was supposed to do, like make an impact. There's this vital part of what I think I need to be doing that's just gone, and the way it stopped sucked for me. And a lot of negativity with it, and it just kind of like I don't know. It kind of like triggered this long-standing clinical depression that I dealt with since forever. So it was a lot harder to deal with it. Actually, music doesn't like treat the depression or anything like that. Nothing, nothing woo like that. The thing that treats depression is a combination of things, like combination of talking therapy, medication, exercise, like doing things that feel productive, like social interaction with people, like trying to control negative thoughts, like vitamin D, blah, 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 all these things. Um, and with that, like, main thing in my life being gone, uh, all those things that make depression come back, I was like, I was going in on them because it kind of was like aimless in a way. It was a weird thing to say for because people see me as a successful, driven person. But the way that I got out of it was by deciding to get out of it and um, deciding to deciding to start exercising and eating right and just doing things that we all know what those things are. Just doing those things. It's very hard to be depressed when you're actually uh, doing all those things, even if you have really bad clinical depression. It's if you're actually like finding a way to do those things, it's very tough to be depressed. So yeah, doing those things over a long period of time, that is the answer. It's nothing easy. Like no drug or therapist fixed anything for me. I mean, they're definitely pieces of the puzzle, but but what I did learn how it was in that time period was that if I'm not doing, like, if I'm not fulfilling my greater purpose like completely, not just in like one avenue, uh things get dark. I need to be very careful about not letting things get dark. So yeah, that's what I learned.
Dude, thank you so much, man, for sitting down with us. This
My
was
pleasure.
this was awesome, man, and truly, truly I believe people are going to watch this and not just get excited for your future for this new record, but your inspiration, man, your personality, and I am excited for what is up ahead. When you guys doing a tour?
Working on it. We have worldwide booking, and we're working on lining stuff up that is both appropriate and awesome.
Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah, dude. Thank you for your time, dude. And there you have it. I hope that you enjoyed this. It was such an honor for me to sit down and just spend time with Eyal and talk about the band, life, and everything else. As always, keep your head up, stay lovely, and stay metal.